Hi Shane, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. We're working okay, huh?
Yep, sounds good. So have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Here, put a shirt on, so I threw it on. But it is, I mean, I wasn't bad to have it on. Tomorrow it might be. It's only the highest like 60 tomorrow.
Oh,
It's like your engine died.
I know. I was in my wife's car the first time that happened, and I thought I was dead.
Oh, does yours go to the?
That automatic
idle?
thing, and
Yeah.
it's so quiet. It's like,
Oh.
oh, what just happened?
Yeah.
The car turned off.
Okay. The only way I learned that existed is by being a pedestrian. I was stopping, like turning off completely, and then I learned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I had a hybrid for supper and it would like, there were times you couldn't tell. Yes, on. Yeah. I think you might.
You sure? I mean, I can announce we'll wait.
You can still, they'll be able to hear my voice.
All right, everyone. Thank you for coming. And those of you that are watching live or will watch later, we will call to order the Rapid City Area Schools regular meeting, our second one of the month. And we'll ask Sheila for a roll call.
Troy Carr,
Here.
Jamie Clapham. Here. Katie Urban. Here. Christine Stephenson.
Here.
Absent with notice is Donna Moore, Walt Swan, and Angela Rafferty.
Okay. I'd invite everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before I entertain a motion to approve the agenda, I just want to make clear that we have 4 of 7 board members, so we do have a quorum. And just to inform the public that we do not have to have a unanimous vote to pass a motion. The vote can be 3-1. And according to our policies, it's the number of voting members present. And so even at a 3-1 vote, we would be able to pass a motion. We could not pass it if it's 2-2. We don't have a tiebreaker. The motion would just die for lack of a majority. So I just wanted to say that for clarity in case anybody had any questions about that. All right, now at this time, I will entertain a motion. Before I do that, we are not going into executive session, so we will delete item 12. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed amendment agenda, deleting item 12.
I'll motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed agenda, deleting item 12. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Okay, motion carries 4-0. At this time, we have one open forum information, and Mr. Littlebaugh, you may.
Oh, sorry.
You may step to the podium and you have 5 minutes.
I'll try not to take that long. Thank you for the time. And you're good. Everything you do for the students at school. My concern is we just moved out to the house on Tiffany Court, which address is currently Hermosa, but we are in Rapid City School District. And we recently come to find out that the school bus stop is at Lower Spring Road and Dewey Lane currently. Lower Spring Road and Dewey Lane is 1.3 miles from our house with hills, curves, etc. I did reach out to the school board in an email, and I believe that you all received the email. I did get some responses back. My wife did reach out to the transportation, and even though they said they considered it, I believe that 21 minutes after an email is sent to have a reply typed back to us, I don't believe it was truly considered. In their email back to us, it says that the school bus stop has been established location for many years. Location was selected based on district guidelines and safety assessments. Unfortunately, the roads leading to Tiffany Court are not maintained in a way that allows safe bus travel, particularly in inclement weather. It is not feasible to safely route a bus to that area. Okay, I get that, but what they're saying is they can't take a bus to our area, but they expect my 10-year-old daughter to walk 1.3 miles to that bus stop? If it's not safe for the bus, is it safe for my daughter to walk there? This road has hills, curves. Not only that, in the morning, if you were looking toward the bus stop from our house, the sun would probably be in your eyes, creating a blind spot as other people are trying to drive that road. There's really no safe way for my daughter to get to the bus stop and back. That being said, I believe that a bus stop should be a safe way for a student to get back and forth to school. And without parents' intervention. If it takes a parent to get a student to a school bus, I believe the school bus stop is not really all that great. We have no problem. We can get our daughter to the school bus stop. It's getting her back. I mean, the school bus brings them back at probably a time where we're not even able to be there to pick her up. I would have no way to get her back to our house. In the email that I sent, there is a very good spot for a bus to turn around at the end of Tiffany Court. If I do need to go talk to the road district on the condition of our roads, I have no problems doing that. But I feel like a 1.3 mile walk from our house to the bus stop, which is equivalent to from Valley View to the McDonald's on exit 61, having a student walk that back and forth, I don't think is feasible. Not even for a 14-year-old student, say nothing about a 10-year-old student. I don't know if there's any way that I can get in touch with somebody and have a discussion or try to figure out a path forward on this. But at this point, I do not see how we can utilize the bus stop the way that it is. So at this point, I will be reaching out with more emails to try to see how to move forward, but I wanted to make sure that the board was aware. I gave handouts on the route and what 1.3 miles would be from the school currently and how far that would be for a student to walk. So thank you for your consideration and time, and you'll probably be hearing more from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, any board response to the open forum? Okay, go ahead, Ms. Urban. Okay.
Okay, thanks for coming this evening. And I wanted to tell you that I should have responded last week and said, I'm looking into this, and I didn't. So I did do that, though I am looking into it, and I know our CFO, Mr. Sassy, is going to look into it as well and respond. So I think you'll get some sort of response in the next few days.
Mrs. Clapham?
And I just want to say really quickly, one, if anybody's ever listened to me, I always say, yeah, I do represent all kids, but you do actually technically live in my area. So one, thank you for reaching out. And I just wanted to say thank you for advocating for your child and also for just being respectful and reasonable and offering solutions. So many times we have people come in and are just mad at us and yell at us and don't offer solutions. So I'm just really appreciative of that. And, you know, we have lead time right now, you know, to look at this. And I know there's also there's a lot going on in transportation. We changed a ton of stops. We cut out over 20 stops. And so I know that's also happening. A lot of routes and maps are changing too. So I know there's just a lot of like background things happening that are probably making this response a little bit slower. But I said, I appreciate you bringing it. I appreciate you advocating for your child, and we will continue communicating. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other hands, we will have Superintendent report by Dr. Thompson.
Thank you, President Carr. I am sorry to say that I don't have much good news to share this evening. We, as a district, received a memo from the State Secretary of Education on July 3rd, indicating that the United States Department of Education had paused the announcement of funding for several of the title allocations. And they have not indicated if or when those funds will be released. Those funds include our migrant student education, or Title I Part C, supporting effective instruction state grant, Title II Part A, 21st Century Community Learning Centers, Title IV Part B, student support and academic enrichment state grant, Title IV Part A, and English language acquisition, Title III. Particularly if Title IIA and Title IV Part A are not funded, it will have a significant impact on our budget and on programming moving forward. We received approximately $1.2 million annually in Title IIA funds, with about half of that allocation funding staff positions within our Teaching, Learning, and Innovation department. The remaining half of that funding goes to a variety of professional service contracts. We also receive approximately $750,000 annually in Title IV Part A funds, and nearly 60% of that allocation funds staff. The remaining funds for Title IV Part A are being used for purchase services, contracts, and supplies. One of the dilemmas we have now is that our staff is already under contract for the year, and many of our professional service contracts have already been signed. So there aren't a lot of adjustments that can be made for this budget year. However, we're not signing any additional contracts that have not already been signed until the U.S. Department of Education releases those allocations, if they release them. And we are meeting with our federal representatives later this week to discuss the impact that losing this fund would have on our curriculum development, our professional development services, and the things that we provide for our staff and our students, in hopes that then they can persuade the federal administration to continue funding. The Title IIA funds have been available for schools since 2015, and Title IVA have been available since 2017. They are categorical funds that schools count on annually. And I should note that although we don't receive any 21st Century Community Learning Center funding directly, it's very possible that our after-school program partners are utilizing that funding, which would have a significant impact on our family and our students. So, not positive news. Going on to staffing, our new human
Dr.
resources.
Thompson,
Yes.
I think it'd be a perfect time to kind of maybe just talk about that a little
Sure.
bit, and for clarity. So if I'm interpreting what you said incorrectly, please let me know. So obviously what Dr. Thompson is reporting is that some of the federal funding that we usually get, it hasn't been announced that we will get them. And so the district will, the district slash Mr. Sassy will have to find those funds in our budget to continue paying what we were paying with those funds for this 25-26 year. Is that correct?
That is correct. I
Okay.
mean, we will make some adjustments and cuts where we can, but most of it is already allocated.
If you've been paying attention to the news, the road for public schools is going to get even more bumpy because the Supreme Court has freed the president to allow him to dismantle the Department of Education. And what that means, what that looks like is anyone's guess, except to know that it's not going to be business as usual and probably another bumpy road. So again, just to let the community and the district know that those things are happening. We don't quite know the full effect of what it means for us locally, but just hold on and we'll get through it. So.
And it is possible that the funding will
Yeah.
come through, that
Yeah.
they will review those programs and they will decide that they should be funded.
Yeah.
And obviously, that is what we're going to advocate for later this week with our federal representatives.
Correct. Mrs. Stephenson.
Yeah, so about approximately $1 million is to a district staff. Can you tell me, are those teachers? Is it our central administration staff? What are these jobs?
Yeah.
and
The
how many?
large percentage of them are instructional coaches and behavioral coaches. And so they do a lot of work assisting our teachers, providing professional development and also working on curriculum development and adoption. Just a lot of the work within teaching, learning, and innovation that's critical to us helping our students and our teachers be successful.
So if this funding doesn't come through, are we committed to keeping that staff on for a year?
Yeah.
Or are we thinking like, well, we have some elementary positions that we need to fill.
Mm.
These are teachers. Is that a pool that we should think about? I mean, it wouldn't be popular, I know that, and it's not good for our district, I also know that. But I mean, I just wanna know what your thought is for this school year.
Well, we're considering all options. Mr. Strasser and Ms. Wojak are considering all options in regarding to filling the elementary positions. But I think we're hopeful that the funding will eventually come through. And so we're taking the approach that we should have business as usual when it comes to our staffing until we find out that that's not the case. And they all are under contracts for their current salary amounts for the year.
Thank you.
Ms. Urban.
Is the Title IV, where we have counselors and social workers funded? I think you had mentioned something about that, Clay. Just, I was curious how many positions, that would impact.
Ms. Strong did not say anything about counselors or social workers, so I'm not sure about that. I had only heard about the instructional coaches and behavioral coaches, so we
Okay.
can look into that and get back to you.
Okay,
She has her hand up, so after Ms. Clapham, she can.
Oh, perfect.
Give us clarity.
just real quick, I wanted to just, maybe I'm wrong, but these funds were approved by Congress, correct? And we expected these, we planned for these, and that July 3rd is when we found out we were not going to get them, and we expected that money in the bank July 1st.
Yes, mostly yes. I think Dr. Thompson did a really nice job of explaining that situation. I think, to me, one of the extra fine points, just to reiterate, is you heard the dates in which those funds have historically been in school systems, including our system. They get for lack of a better analogy, baked into the cake. Districts do exactly what we've done. They bring on staff, they try to enrich their academic experience. And ultimately end up depending on those funds, especially, I think also important to note, these are formulaic grants, meaning that they're not discretionary, they're not competitive. They're grants based on a lot of factors that are happening inside your system. So a district hypothetically can count on them every single year. Obviously, here's the exception, but I think what is incredibly difficult is on July 3rd, which is into a new fiscal year, hearing, oh, by the way, we're not sure if you're going to get these at all, even though we put out for one of the programs an allocation that you planned around and submitted an application around. That makes it, as Dr. Thompson pointed out, tremendously difficult to really be able to modify plans, to make changes. You have contracts in place. Folks are expecting, of course, to be employed for that term. So I think it's just a really, really irresponsible way of handling a really difficult situation. The one thing that you said that is not fully accurate is those are drawdown programs. So essentially what happens is we spend the money, and the next month we go in, we submit our expenditure claim and said, hey, we've spent this money on this program, and we draw it down and get it in the bank the next month. So it's incredibly important, and probably one of, in my opinion, as the financial person, the most important factors here is the idea that we've talked in the past about this very fluid cash flow situation that our district has, where we see these real spikes in revenue in November and in May when the big tax deposits hit. And then past that, really the only form of ongoing stable revenue is state aid, and then whatever is happening in terms of drawdowns from these federal programs. When you consider the idea that there's $12 million wrapped up in federal programs, those drawdowns become very, very important to our normal ongoing cash flow. So it presents a lot of problems, both on the academic front and on the financial front. And so there's some really difficult issues to deal with. I think there's some tough conversations to come in front of us. But as Dr. Thompson said, and I completely agree with her, at this point, we're trying not to panic. We're taking the information as it comes, and we will respond appropriately and to the best of our ability.
Can I just one quick follow-up?
Yeah,
And this
please.
might be for Dr. Strong too. Concerning the after-school programs, is it Compass that typically oversees that, and have we had conversations with them? Because, you know, we're 5 weeks out from school, and a lot of parents depend on those after-school programs. So I just think we should look for some answers soon so they can start preparing. And I'm guessing that's Compass, but I'm not positive.
I believe it's both Compass and the YMCA that are receiving those funds and providing after-school care.
Ms. Clapham.
I just want, I guess, and you guys may not know it all, but so there's potential, none of the funds are released. There's potential they're released in their full. Is there a choice C that they could partially release funds and then we have to work with whatever numbers they arrive at? That's
Yes, I think that's a definite possibility, especially where there's 5 different grant funds they're working with. They may choose to fund some of those and not others, so.
Okay. Dr. Strong.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Great questions. To address a few of your questions that you had asked, first of all, Ms. Urban, it's Black Hills Special Services that our 21st Century Grant is funneled through. They are the ones that provide the out-of-school learning, and they're the ones that provide the out-of-school network and resources for the various, especially the STEAM-heavy and math-heavy curriculum and instruction that comes with out-of-school learning. To address a contingency, we have to be mindful of putting in place an after-school or out-of-school network or program in the absence of 21st Century. in the event that the 21st Century Grant is established, one of our current qualifiers for that grant is we do not currently have an existing after-school program. So if we put into place an after-school program, it could potentially disqualify us from anything in the future of having an after-school program. So I have had conversations with a few different schools about some contingency opportunities for our schools that are receiving those services to provide support for staff and students and families after school. So right now we're actually looking at partnering with maybe the Y as well as the Boys Club and Love Inc. in some capacity right now, because our flow through funds funneled through Black Hills Special Services for the 21st Century Grant. They're the ones that are working with us to provide to look at a plan A. And Dr. Lang and Kelsey Judge and I and Dr. Strasser have a meeting early, not next week, but the following week. We're hoping to have a few more answers in place regarding that particular grant to put some things in place. As far as the title, the what is protected under Congressional Act, currently Title I is protected under the ESEA Act, and Title VI is protected under the 1862 Treaty, Laramie Treaty, and IDEA, of course, is protected under the Students with Disabilities. Our other federal programs are not protected under any congressional forms or any congressional acts. That's what makes them so vulnerable right now. And in this volatile decision-making environment right now, with what is coming and what is not coming, it is a little bit uncertain. However, I do want to say that Title II has been on the chopping block and recommended for an entire dissolution of that program 3 times already in past history. Right now is the first time that the public is hearing about it because of the president's current resolution for the Department of Education on the chopping block. However, I do want to say that Title II there has been bills on the floor to completely dissolve Title II in the past, and it has never gone through. So hopefully that's good news for us. We also have started receiving some allocation last week. We did receive our McKinney-Vento allocation, which was up for one of those grant opportunities that may not be funded, and we did receive that full funding last week. So the good news is they're starting to come through, and we hope to see more and more. But I agree fully with Mr. Sassy and Dr. Thompson about not making any quick decisions yet, because we don't know. However, I do know that we've met as a team to come up with some contingency plans. However, this is the first time the public is really hearing about this, but these requests have been made on the House and Senate floor to dissolve these programs before, and it hasn't passed.
Mrs. Stephenson. Well, Dr. Strong, thank you so much for that information. And I just was going to ask, along with what you said, what is the mood in other districts and in your community and your other compadres across the country? What is it? Nervous? Is it just we'll be okay, just wait? What's kind of your assessment?
Yes, yes, and yes, all of the above. So it kind of depends on our more rural schools across the nation and our larger public schools. Because our Title I funds have come through for our larger public schools, and this means we can continue to feed and educate our students in our most at-risk schools. However, our Title II funds provide opportunity for us to elevate our learning of our professionals in our communities, and our Title IV funds provide opportunities to address our highest need, especially in behavior and mental health in our communities, and which is what our behavior team will do is deploy to the field to provide support services to our schools, rolling out the behavior academies that we're wanting to roll out, and really restructure how we are providing intervention for behavior in our classrooms, which we have discussed numerous times. It's a nationwide issue. So I'm a little bit disheartened, but I'm not giving up. My colleagues, those of us who have been in education for 25, 30 years know that the pendulum swings and it swings wildly sometimes. And this is just a swing of a pendulum. Nobody is really, I shouldn't say nobody. The general feel is not one of panic yet. However, most people are being wise in at least making contingency plans, just as we've discussed as a team, just in case those funds do not come through.
Right. Thank you. That was so helpful. I appreciate your insight.
Absolutely. I will answer any questions should you have any for the rest of the evening. Oh, also, Ms. Urban, regarding your counselors, our Title IV grant currently does not pay for any counselor or social work positions. So those particular positions are not in jeopardy. Any extras in the district are not in jeopardy at this time.
Okay. Ms. Stephenson.
Thanks. I asked earlier about staff. I think that's really important. I'd like to stay focused on students. I think that they are this will have the largest impact on our students, and student learning. But when we talk about families, I feel like the first question is gonna be what Katie asked, is the Discovery program gonna be there for after school? And I'm not sure I understood what you were talking about, that we as a district don't receive 21st century learning, that gets funneled through other people. They're not gonna receive it, but there are grants that we haven't applied to because we don't have after school care. Can you clarify that? Because I didn't follow it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great question, Christine. So right now, the 21st Century program is the after school, or they call it out of school learning opportunities for schools across the nation. And Rapid City does apply for that 21st Century grant. However, our 21st Century grant that we receive is funneled through Black Hills Special Services. So even though those monies are awarded to Rapid City area schools, Black Hills Special Services currently manages and has, since the inception of the 21st Century grant 6 or 7 years ago, has always managed those flow-through funds that come to Rapid City. So Black Hills Special Services hires the people for their after-school program. They manage the students during the after-school program. They provide the resources like the materials for the after-school learning program. We provide the space and the busing. They provide everything else, because they manage the grant for us. And so if we supplement or even supplant that after school program with a different after school program that is not grant funded, then that will take us out of the qualification. We will be disqualified from any future 21st century or out of school learning grant opportunities, which means that we as a district will be required then to provide all after school and out of school, so after school, summer school, out of school learning opportunities in the future. Did that answer your question, Christine?
Well, I think I'm just following that to its logical conclusion. If these funds aren't released, will there be a Discovery program after school in August?
No, there will not be. Right
Okay.
now, that's what Dr. Strasser and Dr. Lang and I are going to meet in about a week and a half to discuss maybe a Discovery Light that they could offer that we could contract with, especially if our Title IV funds come through. We can fund that through our Title IV funds. But again, there's a lot of if and thens, and there's a lot of variables that unfortunately we just can't answer right now. But the reason why we put the meeting out for a week and a half is hoping by that time we would have some answers on what funding is coming through, so we could make a little bit more solid decisions on how August looks for our Discovery programs.
Okay, that's really hard news.
Yes, it is.
This late in the game, that is, it's all hard news, but that's really hard for our families. I guess that's all I have to say. Oh, I know, I wanted to follow up with who's responsible for communicating that? And when do we communicate it?
Well, again, we don't, as Mr. Sassy said earlier, we don't want to jump the gun too early because there's a lot of variables. There's a lot of ifs, cans. We didn't think that Title I was going to be funded, and they were funded fully and completely. So it's just a waiting game. So we're hoping, in a week and a half that we have answers, and then by the end of July, beginning of August at the latest, and we will be communicating with principals, and then principals and myself and Dr. Strasser then can communicate to families in a unified front on what other opportunities and support we could offer these families after school. Because we don't want to just leave them high and dry. You know, this could be a great opportunity to partner with the Y or like I said, the Boys Club and Love Inc. to provide opportunities after school as well. But we just don't know yet because there's so many unknown variables.
Could a foundation make a fund and funnel that money to the co-op, and then we are still in the running for 21st Century Learning grants in the future?
You know, that's a really great question, Christine. I don't know the answer. Can you give me a few days to find that answer and I'll get back to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would. Yes, thank you.
Okay, you bet. Thank you.
Thanks for your work.
You bet. Thank you.
Mrs. Urban.
I just wanted to, our Black Hills Special Services, who again oversees those programs, they won an award for some of the most outstanding after-school programs in the nation. And so this would be a massive loss for our students and families. And I think right now, what you can do, if you're a parent and you're listening, is you can contact your congressional delegation and say, hey, this is going to impact our families. And if you feel passionately about that, I would encourage you to do it. We are meeting with, as Dr. Thompson said, the aides of Senator Thune and Senator Rounds and Representative Johnson later this week to hopefully help them understand how critical this is to our district.
Yes, ma'am. And that was a great reminder, Ms. Urban. If you guys want, as a board, I can forward you a copy of that award as well as a prerequisite to receive that award. You can take that with you also then. Dr. Thompson and Mr. Sassy, you can take that then with you to the representatives also.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Didn't mean to hijack your report, but I thought, you know, since you mentioned it and it's an important topic and something that will affect not only our district, but the districts in the country. So thank you.
Thank you. The only other thing I have is I wanted to introduce our Human Resources Director, Nikki Wojcik. She started last week and has hit the ground running. She really did not get much of a honeymoon period, as she has been working very hard with Mr. Strasser to fill a dozen elementary teaching positions, as well as Dr. Comer to fill nearly the same amount of special education positions. So we are working very hard to try to fill those, looking at every option available to us.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the district. And we look forward to working with you and seeing all the great things that you have in store. Mrs. Stephenson.
Yeah, I'm welcome to the district. My question is more on the teacher opening positions, especially the special ed. One thing that, you know, we wanted to track openings over time, and it seems even though a dozen is a lot, how many sped positions do we have open?
I don't know the exact number, but it's right around 12 that are critical. And I believe from talking to Dr. Comer, it is less than the previous years that we're making progress.
I feel a little less panicky about 12 than I remember feeling at this time last year. Because if I'm right,
23.
I was gonna say, wasn't it 24? Like
Yeah.
2 dozen is
Yeah.
what's like 6 in my head. So I think it'd be really interesting to have that data and track it too, just like the number of openings and how we're doing, since it's such a big board goal, how they compare over time.
We can track that and let you know.
Okay, that
is all I have. Thank
okay.
you.
All right, very good. Thank you very much for that report. Any other questions for, not for Mrs. Clapham, but Mrs. Clapham has her hand up, so.
It is not a question. I just wanted to say, you know, the annual meeting's kind of goofy with the new, so I just kind of wanted to formally say welcome and just say, I am so impressed. Like, you have been so communicative and so busy. And so like, this is a hard time education is just hard right now, and I've just really been impressed with your work, your professionalism, how communicative you've been with us, and I'm so happy we have you, and this district is very fortunate, and I know hard times uphill, downhill, like I'm very confident with having you, Leah, so thank you so much for being here and hanging on to the crazy ride with us.
Thank you. I
Alright.
am excited to be here.
All right, anything else for Dr. Thompson? I ditto those comments, so thank you. All right. Now, Mr. Saxey.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. President. Very short update for me tonight. Not a lot of budget stuff to talk about, which is what we've been focused on very heavily over the last several months. Hard to believe we're approximately halfway through the summer already. Like we've discussed, the summer season is a really, really busy time for support services. Just wanted to highlight a couple of the major construction projects that we have going on. First being the Central High School renovations, which include library, classroom, bathroom renovations, large scale project, a lot going on there, a lot of logistical coordination that happens with that project. It's gone really well, approximately 70% complete at this point, so well on track to be completed well before school starts, and it'll be great to have a nice renovated building for those students to go back into. The other really marquee project being the Blackhawk HVAC project, about 65 to 70% complete at this point. Again, great project. Obviously, that's a high ranking project in terms of our facility performance index. So really happy to be on course to check another one of those projects off our list. Want to give a quick shout out to Jade Clement. This is his first official summer season with us. And he's managing, I think, something like 18 to 20 projects right now, along with Kathy Laurenti in his office. And they've just done a fantastic job. That's so much coordination trying to get all those projects moving and ready to go, and managing all the various firms that are out there working for us. So give a shout out to Jade and Kathy. They're doing a really great job on that. Also want to give a shout out to Buildings and Grounds and that whole crew. All the different teams that are hard at work, cleaning inside, outside of buildings, trying to get them prepped for school. I always tell those folks, you know, they're sort of like the offensive linemen of our system. They're doing all this really difficult, not fun work to ensure that those schools are in a good place and ready to go. And so thank you to John and everybody at Buildings and Grounds for all the work you're doing over the summer. I guarantee if you bump into any of those people over the summer, they're about as busy as they could possibly be trying to make sure that those schools are in good shape and ready to go. So I do have one quick thing to mention on budget. Obviously, fiscal year ended 6/30. It takes about a month and a half to clean all that data up, pull it into the system, ensure that all the expenditures from previous fiscal year are paid out. The business office and myself will start to work on the annual report for the State Department of Education. That's really just a really big aggregation of the financial data throughout the year, put into various reports that the state likes to have. It's a great report. It tells us a lot about our performance over the fiscal year. And so once we have that completed, usually in that August timeframe, I will give the board a previous fiscal year recap. I think it's really powerful information to see what we planned and where we were right and where we were wrong, and some of the trends that we're seeing in the budget. And so in probably the second meeting of August, I will give a recap of fiscal year 25. Wanted to mention, we were alerted, thank you to the board member who alerted us earlier today, that there's a property tax task force meeting happening here at the School of Mines on Thursday. That is also a very big subject. If we think that obviously the federal programs being messed with have a major impact on our district, property tax has a very, very significant impact. About 70% of our total revenue is made up of property tax. So that is a big, big deal to us. So Dr. Thompson and I had some conversation earlier. We're going to divide and conquer on Thursday. That's a really busy day. She's going to stay here and beat everybody up about the federal program side of that. I'm going to go to the tax task force and give testimony there. I did touch base with our lobbyists, Sam and Larry Nelson, earlier today. Got some good thoughts from them. I'm going to regroup with them again tomorrow with some talking points and make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of what we're saying and how we're going to approach that conversation. But looking forward to that. Again, that's a huge deal to us. And I think it's really, really important that we're showing up there and in helping those folks understand how this could impact the district. It's not, to me, it's not a negative conversation. It's a conversation of helping them understand why this is such a big deal and how it could impact our system. I think that's it for me, President Carr. Happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Any questions? Mrs. Clapham?
Maybe I'm just uncomfortable with silence tonight. I don't know. This is honestly not related to your report, but I
Sure.
wanted to ask it. So we have a contract in the agenda about basically our agreement with the Meade County school buses and routes.
Mhm.
My question is there, and it might be coming later, do we have any sort of financial obligation with Meade County when those students enroll in Meade County? Like, how does that work financially? And I just, being right in the niche of that, like when I watched like 4 different buses come, I just don't know like how it works fully financially, so.
So there's no, wherever that student is attending, that's where the dollars will go. So for example, let's say state aid, that student open enrolls out of Rapid City area schools into Meade County schools. They're going to count that student on state aid. They're going to count them on any other forms of enrollment-based revenue, federal programs, any of those types of things. Obviously, the property tax stays here within our district because they are assumingly property owners within the boundaries of Rapid City area schools. But in terms of the majority of the rest of the revenue, it would go with that student.
Okay, but we don't like have a separate contract where we pay out, it's just basically
No.
that money is following them and, okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have an off the report question just because it
Sure.
popped in my head.
Yeah.
I know a couple of years ago, we had the project of removing all the projectors from the room.
Yes.
And I remember it was just a hot mess and then
Yes.
we didn't talk about it. So it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be now, but in the next couple of
Yeah.
months, if I can just get an update on
Of course.
where that is, that'd be awesome.
Yes, sir. Happy to do that.
Thank you. All right, anything else for Mr. Sassy? Seeing none. We have no conflicts of interest for tonight. On to item 9, approval of the proposed agreement. I will entertain a motion.
I'll motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed agreements. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of approving the proposed agreement signify by saying aye. Any noes, please say no. Motion carries 4-0. Item 10, is there any consent agenda that a board member would like to pull before I entertain a motion? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the proposed consent agenda.
Motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Motion carries 4-0. Item 11, items for board information. This time we'll have a presentation from Brown and Brown. And I think they're on Zoom.
Yes, sir. President Carr, thank you. So we're going to have Mr. Sean Arnett from Brown and Brown. He's going to come on and talk about the final numbers in terms of our premium renewals and walk you through that information and then present the recommendations coming forward from the district. So Mr. Arnett, please take it away, sir.
All right. Well, I appreciate you all for allowing me to attend your board meeting. I actually am Scott Johnson. I am the financial executive on the team here at Brown and Brown. Sean Arnett is my colleague that normally attends these meetings, but I am just filling in for him tonight. So I'm gonna go through this, let's see, I suppose I should share my screen for you all. I'm typically a Microsoft Teams person, so this is a little different for me, but looks like I'm sharing now. So I'm going to kind of breeze through this first part of the presentation. It's just kind of the how the medical plan is running year to date so far, and then we'll get into the renewal and our recommendations for the 2025-26 plan year. So getting into the plan. So far through May, right here we have it circled. The plan is basically running at 104.2% of contractual expected. And really what that means is the plan is running at about 4.2% over where Wellmark thought your claims would come in for the plan year. Compare that to last year, it was just under 100%, and it finished at 99% at the end of last plan year. And then at 22-23, it was like right at 100%. So, you know, this number is nothing to be alarmed about. Last month, that number was 106.1%. So May was a favorable month as far as claims are concerned. Just a quick look at the enrollment. Enrollment is down about 0.8%, so relatively flat. What I like to look at here is basically how many employees are enrolled currently, and it's 1,176 were enrolled on the plan in May. And I like to look at the end of last year, 1,118. So there was a good uptick through open enrollment from the end of last year into this current plan year. So even though this looks like it's down, really we're doing quite well here. All right, looking at the claims. Down in the lower right hand, we have circled here 10.4%. Now that's the increase in claims per employee per month over last year. So right now, it's about $1,246 per employee per month in claims compared to $1,129 last year. Again, May was a favorable month. When you guys saw this report last time through April, this was at about 12.5%. So it's come down just 2% in just 1 month. And one thing to look at right here, November through February, there was a 4-month span here where claims were relatively high, 1.8, 1.6, 1.7, and 1.5 million. So that's above where the average month normally is. The last few months have been much, much more favorable. And that'll play a role in the renewal that we'll be looking at in a little bit here. Looking at the large claims, this is a list of members that have exceeded $100,000 in claims so far year to date. And then these are 10 individuals over here that have exceeded that specific deductible of $175,000. So the school district pays up to $175,000 in claims for every individual on the plan. And there are 10 so far that have exceeded that. Last time you saw this report through April, there were only 7 members. So 3 more jumped on this list, and it increased about $340,000 from April into May, as far as the claims over that specific deductible. Now, these are dollars that the district didn't pay because you pay insurance to Wellmark to cover those high claims. Quickly here, this is just looking at we call it the member burden, but really it's a distribution of costs. So when we look at all costs associated with the medical plan, the employer, Rapid City Area Schools, is picking up 63% of the costs, and the employees are picking up the other 37%. The benchmark out there is about 58% employer, 42% employees. So this really just speaks to the richness of the plan that you have. Last year, the split was 61% RCAS, 39% employees. Dental, quickly here, PEPM change, so that per employee per month change in claims is down about 7.2%. And what I really like to see is, almost 60% of your spend on the dental plan is coming from people just getting in and getting their annual checkups. All right, and then to round out the reporting portion here, we're just looking at the funding analysis. So right up here, we're looking at the year-to-date contributions. So that totals about $14.6 million between the district and employees. Then we look at the expenses here. You have fixed costs, which are admin fees, stop loss premiums, and then the net paid claims. And then there are some RX rebates that come in for certain specialty drugs. There's manufacturer rebates that come in. So right now, total plan expenses are about $13.5 million. Compare that to the contributions at 14.6 million. The plan is running at about 93% of budget. So that's a great number to see. Last year, the plan ended at 91.4% of budget. Phenomenal year. So even though this number down here looks a little higher, looks like it basically what this is saying is the cost per employee per month for the district is up about 16% over last year. We just have to keep in mind that last year was a really favorable year, and so is this one. All right. So the plan is running well so far. So before I get into the renewal, I just kind of want to level set and show you just a quick shot of what your plan looks like. This is the plan design is what we're looking at here, kind of a high level. And really on the right-hand side, this is kind of a high level benchmarking. Your plan is market competitive. You know, picture this as a strike zone. Your plan is right smack dab down the middle. The plan design is right where you want it to be, and the employee cost share is right where you want it to be. So this is a strong plan, $1,500 single deductible, $5,000 single out-of-pocket maximum. And then you can see the balance of the plan details here. So market competitive plan, you have a really, really nice plan. All right, a lot going on this page. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to focus mostly on the right-hand side over here where all the circles and arrows are and everything like that. But basically what a lot of these numbers are showing are the fixed costs for current plan year, expected claims, contractual expected claims, I would say, set by Wellmark. But the far right-hand side is basically where RCAS decided to fund this year. And then here are the Brown & Brown recommendations for the upcoming year. So right now, RCAS is funding at about 18.1 million. Now, this isn't a snapshot in time. It's taking the current month's enrollment, multiplying it by the rates and annualizing it. So it's not going to be a perfect exact number at the end of the year. But to compare that, so we're looking at the initial renewal here for 2025, 2026. When you saw this last time, this was at a 7.7% funding increase. And that was derived by taking this 9% increase in the fixed costs from Wellmark, again, the admin fees, the stop loss premiums, and so forth. And we add that to our underwriting. As at Brown & Brown, we like to underwrite for our clients just to make sure that we're funding appropriately. So we add the fixed costs to our claims projection, and this is what we came up with last time we saw you, 7.7%. This revised section here, really none of these numbers changed. There was no relief in any of the fixed costs or anything like that. But what did change is that we added 3 more months of your claims experience to the underwriting. And those 3 months were favorable and did drop that from a 7.7 down to a 6.6%. So this is if we just kept the same plan design and went forward into next year, 6.6% increase. And then lastly, the bottom portion here, this is an alternate plan design. And this is going to be our recommendation for this year. And what this is basically taking that same claims experience through May as this middle option did. But now we're increasing the maximum out of pocket. I know this says deductible. We'll clean that up. But maximum out of pocket from 5,000, 10,000 to 6,000, 12,000. So bumping that up a little bit gives a little bit of relief in the claims cost projection for next year, and that brings the funding increase down to about 5.5%. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're recommending this plan design change. And one thing to note when you're looking at these green arrows, the first time we saw this at 7.7, that increase meant about $1 million of increase to the district. The employees had some increase as well. Due to the favorable claims, the additional underwriting and everything, that came down to about $852,000, so about $150,000 savings there. And then just adding this alternate plan design, that brings the projected cost of the district down to $713,000 for an increase. So, you know, basically doing these Plan design changes and extra claims experiences almost cut $300,000 out of the increase for the district. All right. Here is the recommended renewal here at that increased maximum out of pocket, 6,000, 12,000. Right here, what we're looking at is the increase in just the stop loss premium. I wanted to show that that's about an 11.5% increase. That's one of the fixed costs. The admin fees that Wellmark charges going up about 3.7%. So the total fixed costs are going up about 9%. So we couple that with our Brown and Brown claims projection at about $18.3 million. That's where we get that recommended funding down here at the bottom of 19.1 million. And we do take into consideration kind of a conservative estimate of RX rebates that could come through the door next year. So that is how the 5.5% increase was formulated. And here is just a look at the contributions. So on the light blue on the left-hand side, these are the current contributions by coverage tier. The yellow highlighted areas are actually what the employees are paying on a monthly basis. So not per paycheck, but on a monthly basis. So right now, single employees are paying, 12-month employees are paying $122.59 per month. And with that 5.5% increase, that would go up to $129.33. And you can kind of see the comparisons in here. And what I like to look at is over on the right-hand side, the change, the dollar amount change per month, because that's what people are most interested in. So for a single 12-month employee, it's increasing about $6.74 per month. And then all the way up to a family would be increasing by about $46.43 per month. We have the same thing listed here for the 9-month employees. You can see the almost $9 increase per month for the 9-month single employee, up to about a $61, $62 increase for families. And then lastly, we have the spouse in district rates and so forth, but really down at the bottom here is what I wanted to kind of show you. And this is a roll up of all the costs here. So the green circled portion is the district projected increase of that $713,000. Employees will be increasing by about $286,000 annually for that $1 million total increase here. All right, dental, we can kind of cruise right through. We are proposing a 3% increase on the dental. Again, that 3% does equate to pretty small dollars here, 12 cents per month for a single, all the way up to $1.34 for a family on the dental plan. The reason we're doing that is the plan is running a little over budget, has been for the last couple of years. So we think a slight increase could help offset that a little bit. But again, the spouse in district dental, you can see the increases there. And then the total dollar increase. So the 3% increase for dental equates to about $32,000 for the district and $9,000 for the employees. All right, and then the last slide I have here, I know there's a ton of numbers, but let's just kind of focus down on the very bottom right-hand portion. What this is just kind of a roll-up, kind of shows the whole employee benefits portfolio that Rapid City Area Schools offers. And what we have circled down here is that alternate plan design for the medical plan, that increased maximum out of pocket, along with the 5.5% increase on the medical funding, the 3% increase on dental, and then everything else is under a rate lock for the upcoming year. So no increases in these other lines of coverage. So the whole portfolio going up about 5.3% or $745,000. And that is all I have for you on the renewal and update on the report. Any questions for me on renewal related matters or reporting?
Ms. Clapham.
Thank you. And I honestly don't know if this is a Brown and Brown question or a Mr. Sassy question, so I'm just gonna ask a question. So this recommended, have our employees seen this recommended, their cost based on the recommendation, or would that be something that is seen new to them sometime after tonight. I'm just a little unclear,
Yeah.
like, cause I know they've enrolled already. You always have to enroll significantly before, so I didn't know how that would be rolled out, or if we as a district have to decide if we do this recommendation or not, or what that looks like.
Yes, so the obviously situation has been discussed with the Insurance Advisory Committee. They're aware, obviously they're out having conversations about it. However, we don't typically release that type of information outside of these meetings until we are certain how we're moving forward and what the actual renewal is going to look like. I think that just general comments around this situation, you know, insurance renewals are always difficult. The hard reality of it is that no matter what direction you go and what adjustments you make, it's going to impact somebody. And so the idea has always been, and I think that Sean and Scott and team have always done a really great job of putting ideas in front of us in terms of how do we impact the most minimal amount of people? How do we do the greatest good in terms of looking at renewals, making adjustments to the plan? And so that's really where you see that recommended increase coming down from where we would be if we took that straight forward. And then adjusting the deductible and out-of-pocket max on that side. So we tried to hit a point in which we could make a hopefully a minor adjustment that would have minimal impact on the most amount of people, that could bring the premium renewal down the most significantly in this short amount of time. So I don't know if I answered your question or not. I apologize.
Yes.
I think generally the question was, you know, has it been communicated to the large scale employee base? Not at this point. That would be what happens after the renewal tonight. That information is then taken forward. HR goes out and disseminates what the renewal is going to look like, and et cetera, et cetera. So Nicole's on it. I know she's got an email prepped and ready to go.
Sure,
Come to the
come.
microphone though.
Or either mic, there's
yeah,
a mic
either
there
mic.
or a mic here.
Yeah, so I can help answer that question and just the process. So we've had meetings with the committee, so we met with them today. So our employee committee is very well of the decision point that was being brought forward to all of you tonight on whether we're going to go with the 7% increase across the board, or option B, which is recommended by Brown and Brown, which is the 5.5, 5.2, with the out-of-pocket maximum increase from 5 to 6,000 for individual, and then from 11 to 12, or 10 to 12,000, I believe, for the family. So that's the decision point we're seeking tonight from all of you. Once we receive that decision, then we'll put the information together for our employees, and that information will be shared through educational sessions during open enrollment, which will take place the end of July, beginning of August. It's a 2-week open enrollment. Does that help, Jamie?
It really does, and it reminded me, I forget because I worked in the healthcare, I forget that our open enrollment hasn't actually happened. Like in my mind, I was thinking, well, they already enrolled with this one, right? But no, I forget that we enroll in September, so that,
New year.
I mean, like that it starts in September, so
Mhm.
that makes it make a lot more sense.
One other tricky piece to mention, and again, Sean and Scott and team always do a great job of helping us. And I won't rabbit hole on this, but one of the other aspects of managing our health plan, our benefit plan, is that we're self-funded, meaning that ultimately the bank account for paying claims is within the district. So in a fully insured plan, for example, they would come back and say, they being the insurance company, here's the premium you're going to get in terms of an increase, or you can do this or this or this. And so one of the additional aspects that we have to manage in addition to thinking about, you know, claims histories, where the industry is going, all those things, is what do we need to do to fund our plan to ensure it's solvent throughout the year and that we're able to meet the demand of our insurance plan. And so we do have a little bit of room to play with in terms of what we recommend for a premium increase in thinking about our cash reserve in the health insurance fund and how healthy that is and how that's going to carry us. So that, for example, if we gambled on the low side, let's say we said, you know, hey, 5.5, that's well under trend. That could put us in a dicey position in terms of cash management throughout the year, that we would have to then dig into the reserves of the health insurance fund to make sure that X amount of claims got paid. Or vice versa, we say, hey, we're going to err on the cautious side. We're actually going to go from a 5.5 to a 6 because we think that's a better funding level. So that's a lot of words just to tell you that there are a lot of tricky aspects to getting to the point that we're at tonight, which is bringing forward a recommendation and saying, hey, this is how we feel you should fund the plan.
Okay, we got Brown and Brown's recommendation. What is your recommendation? Pause. And thank you for the clarity. I didn't know you would need a decision from us tonight on what direction we're going to go, either with the 7% or the recommended from Brown and Brown, 5%. So what is your recommendation? And then board, I'll kind of not knowing what direction we should go at this point, but what is your?
Sure. Yeah, I would support the recommendation from Brown and Brown, as I believe the Insurance Advisory Committee did as well. I know Nicole has not had a lot of time to sink her teeth into it, but certainly I would say I feel like that's the best move we can make right now in terms of managing the plan and bringing the premium down to a lower level with a minimal amount of disruption to the plan.
Okay, so that I'm clear on the process, we would give you our recommendation tonight. Then you would bring that proposal back on the agenda for there to be the full vote on that, or?
I don't believe so. Typically, this is the final vote by the board. So, you know, a month ago, Brown and Brown brought forward, hey, here's our projections, here's where we think we're going to be at. And then as we refine that over the last month, then it's brought forward for approval. Typically is how that's happened in the past.
All right, board. Well, that's the other thing. We probably will need to make a motion and take a vote to make it official. I don't remember this.
We've never.
Okay.
Or
If we have, I feel like it's been like then put on an agenda, like it probably was on like a consent. We've never done it like this, but the problem is.
This part of the agenda.
Right, and the problem that I'm seeing, unless, and anyone correct me if I'm wrong, because of when open enrollment starts and when our next meeting is there, you can't, like, you could put it on the agenda in August, but open enrollment's gonna start before that, so that doesn't really work. Like, you can't be retroactive.
I don't know that this is a decision that requires board approval. I
Yeah.
feel like it's a.
That's the idea, is that technically it's not a.
So it's more,
And
it's
we've
a,
never approved it before.
it's more like an informal recommendation,
Right.
saying we're aware. And so I guess arguably if 3 of us or more said, I
Yeah.
absolutely disagree with
Totally.
this, then that would be another issue, I guess, but I think if we informally say, go forth and prosper,
Well,
here we are.
for my comfortability, whatever Brown and Brown recommends and whatever our director recommends, I would go with their recommendations. My 2 cents.
Yeah, and I can't say what's been done in the past, but it's not on the agenda as an action item. It's just
Yeah.
down as an information item, so.
Correct.
And again, I believe that's been historical, that it really is not an action item. It's not brought forward for official board approval. It's you're seeing this. As Jamie said, if any of you had issues or a majority of you had issues and said, go back to the drawing board, then obviously we would do that. But I'm sorry if I misspoke. I don't believe it's been historically as added as an action item.
Okay, so
I feel like we're given this information so that we know how to respond when people come to us and say, why do we have a 5.5% increase? You know, it's good to know at a high level why this is happening. But
Yeah.
I mean, so I appreciate the presentation and I'm glad to have the information.
yes, it was a good
Absolutely.
presentation. After all these years, I finally start understanding these. That's a scary thing. Okay, so any other questions, comments about this presentation? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, committee reports. Anybody, Mrs. Urban.
I just have a quick facilities report.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
yeah, we met last week. We're excited that the Rapid Valley addition is moving forward and Chamberlain Architects has been chosen to create that drawing and whatever it's going to look like. I know I didn't say that correctly, but so they are going to be working on that. And it looks like as far as a timeline goes, they would like to break ground in March or April of 2026, so this next school year. And then construction starts in May, and then the addition will be open for school year 2027. So starting this spring, you're going to see some action over at Rapid Valley, and then the following year, they will be able to work through the summer and be open. So 2027, we will have the expansion done at Rapid Valley.
Oh, can I point one addition, just so you know, so the community knows, that also includes getting Rapid Valley air conditioned. So, so really it's a big deal that school is so busy and so packed, and for them to have more room and AC, I think it was a great decision by the district to move forward with this.
Yes, and it's a need I hear about every single time I go in there, so I'm excited. And then earlier on the agenda, we approved a contract with School Perceptions. They are going to do a comprehensive study, survey for our district regarding facilities. So at the end of the month, you will see a survey hit your mailbox. Please fill it out. It's going to give you information about our facilities, a potential bond. We're really looking for feedback so that we can decide what our next steps will be.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other committee reports? I am working on the 25-26 committee assignments. My goal was to have it done on tonight. I didn't know or realize early enough that we were going to be missing some board members, but just for them and for you all here, there's one more person on the legislative committee. There's room for one more person. We need, or I guess need could be a strong word, someone for the Performing Arts Center. There's one opening on the policy committee, and then there's one opening on the Title VI program. I know Mrs. Urban has volunteered to be on every committee, but we want to help her by not doing so much. So and again, just a reminder that each committee is there's not a requirement to have 3 persons. You just can't have more than 3 persons. So if nobody picks up these committee spots, then some of the positions will just have 2 board members, which is fine. So hopefully in the next week, I will reach out when the other 3 board members are back to see if they want to fill any of these positions, and I will try to get this complete.
Really
Yes, ma'am.
quick on that one thing, we discussed in leadership that I think for the public as we move forward, we're gonna work on actually having more formal, we always have notes, but more formal notes and having them attach to the agenda so the community can see kind of a step deeper. Like obviously we give committee reports, but they're not as in-depth as if someone was taking them formally and sharing them. So we're gonna move move forward with that, which I look forward to. And then the one thing I do on the performing arts, I do believe it is required by law because
Yes.
of our contract with, so that's not an optional one. We have to fill that with someone. The other ones, if we have to or whatever, but that one is a must.
Okay, yes, you are correct. Thank you for that. So if I don't get any volunteers, we have a saying in our church that you get voluntold. So if nobody steps forward, maybe I will assign that to Mrs. Urban if she doesn't mind that. All right, anything else about committees?
Did you put the Western Dakota Tech?
Yes. that is
Liaison.
on here.
Okay.
Yep, and you are,
I'm that,
Slater.
huh? All right.
did you want that?
Yeah, I'm super happy to have that.
Okay.
Sure.
Anything else on committees? All right, moving on to others. Is there any other? All right, Mrs. Urban.
Just quickly, I wanted a shout out to our food service department. I got a call from the crime reduction specialist at the Rapid City Police Department. They had a community meeting at Star Village, which has really been struggling with violence over the past few months. And one of the needs that came out of that was that their kids are hungry and that they really rely on school meals, and some of them weren't getting any meals at all. So I basically just reached out to, I think Krista, or maybe I reached out to someone, and I feel bad that I can't think of who it was at the moment, but I heard back that they are making it happen and they are creating a stop up at Star Village, so they'll deliver meals up there during the week. So really excited about that, and it's just so responsive at a time when they really need it.
And this and the other things that the district does, I was talking to someone today, and the district is going to make a better effort in telling our story, because quite frankly, there's a narrative that's going around. I don't know how viral it is, but I've heard it several times about there's not anything changing in the district. And so this is a perfect example of how input gets a reference and things are changing. And so I think as we as a district do a better job of mentioning, and I've got some ideas with that, and I know Dr. Thompson does, and actually Mrs. Clapham had talked about some type of magazine, bulletin. Oh, okay, the wrong Mrs. Urban, so that these things don't get lost. Because when somebody comes and says, well, what's going on? I know me, I can't think off the top of my head all the things that are happening. That's big, right? And if nobody listens to tonight's report, and if we don't champion it, then nobody's gonna hear that happened in our community. So we are going to do, we, meaning the board, has made a commitment to do a better job at telling our stories and telling these stories, so that the community know that we are doing good things and things are happening and things are changing for the good. So thank you for that, that report. All right, any other Mrs. Clapham?
Oh, yes, because it will happen before our next meeting, the National Public School Day Live on the Lawn. July 30th, will be at Main Street Square. As many of us and administration will be out there just advocating for public schools. Our Public School Foundation will be out there with fundraising and just seeing our kids and our staff and, the great products of this district. And it gets a little tricky sometimes when we have these 5-week months, because it feels really long before the next meeting. But so just to remind everybody to come out, and that'll obviously be on our socials and all of those things, but we would love to see you out there and learn more about our public schools and just.
Date and time of that again?
It is July 30th, and I believe it's 6 o'clock. Yep, 6 o'clock. So we would love to have people come on out.
Okay.
And we probably need a quorum notice for it. Sheila, if you don't mind putting out a quorum for that event.
Okay. I have a couple of things. One is we did make a decision on the board retreat. I know that date and place with all the different schedules, but I want to be, because of quite frankly, the accusation of last year that we somehow were trying to hide it or not let people know where it was. I want to be extra and overly clear on this year that we settled on August 11th at the Hilton Garden Inn, okay? So there's that announcement, and again, it will, you'll be hearing about it more and maybe on the calendar or whatever. Again, for clarity, this year, we will have 2 retreats. The first retreat is administrative led, and so we will discuss the district and the administration's agenda. We will also then have a second retreat because there's not enough time in a 1 day or brain power. When you start at 8 and by the time you get to 3, we're eyes are crossing and sleeping and all of that. So because the board has some other official work that it needs to do before the school year, we will plan another board retreat. I don't know how we'll distinguish and how we'll call each retreat so that people will know that they're different retreat. But again, for clarity, there will be another retreat. And board, it is not too early to start building an agenda for that retreat. It's our first separate one. So if we start now building it and talking about how we want it structured, that would help us.
Were we thinking also that at that second retreat, we would talk about the facilities survey and that would be a chunk of that
Yes.
retreat?
Yeah. And so that we're gonna probably have a doodle poll, Sheila, about when we can get that on the calendar. Okay, any questions, comments about the 2 separate retreats? There was also a question that I was asked by a community member that I want to clarify, and it was about the board going into executive session at our annual meeting. And so according to South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2.3 is what the motion was that allowed us to go into executive session to talk to our attorney. Anytime any one of us talks to our attorney, because we have attorney-client privilege, those conversations are not public. It's not for any of us personally, and it is definitely not for the board. And so once we go into executive session, especially when we're talking to our attorney, none of those discussions that happen in that meeting are brought and or made public. And I think I mentioned that before. There was a comment that in a board a couple of years ago did publicly ask their attorney a question. I don't remember it. I'm not quite sure if there was an answer to that, but it is unfair to ask a lawyer a question in public, because if they're not an AI machine and have every legal law in their brain, it is possible that they could make a mistake. And for that profession, it's not great to have a lawyer that gives you the wrong advice. So for that, it is better to ask an attorney a question beforehand so that they can research the law and then give their client the actual legal correct definition. So I hope that it explains the question to that one community member that approached me. And if there are other people that were wondering about that procedure, hopefully that is an explanation. All right, I don't have anything else on other. Mrs. Clapham.
Just a tiny added clarity to that, just to make, so things later, if the board, someone chooses to waive attorney-client privilege on something, they do have the capability to do so. However, if you don't go into executive session to start with, you no longer have the option.
Correct.
So I think that's just sort of saying, like, there are things certainly that later are public when we talk about property sales and things like that, that do become public, but it is the most prudent to have that attorney-client privilege to begin with, and then you can read through what you waive and what you don't.
Correct. That is correct. I agree with that. Okay. Again, just for transparency and clarity, and so we're all on the same, I'm gonna go to my grave with that word transparency. I heard it more than I thought I ever would. All right, anything else from anybody else? All right, at this point, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no.